xi ninh nói gầu mong ni chi bò ba lo bia hay cho di linh tu tu mi mai gầu mua cho kê tu xia e kia ư mua sao kia lo ua y mi đại đau chia.
In a world dominated by digital screens and instant gratification, there's an increasing divide in our human connections and difficulties expressing our vulnerabilities. Letters to My podcast explores the tapestries of storytelling by transforming written letters into spoken word. I have the honor of interviewing courageous guests as they dedicate their letters to a loved one, showcasing their vulnerability through their past experience, present realities, future aspirations. Lastly, and most important, is wisdom sharing, imparting their wisdom, their advice, and inspiration to the next generation. Some of you who may not be Hmong may be wondering, what is a Tou and why Mai? The names Mai and Tou are two of the most common names in the Hmong culture, similar to Muhammad, Fatima, Juan, and Maria. Tou is a wordplay to Tou. Mai is a wordplay to Mai. Hence, the guest dedicates a letter to my daughter, son, partner, or whoever. Hello, 안녕하세요. My name is Sai. I'm your podcast host for the Letters to My podcast. Welcome, where I get the privilege to capture, reflect, and share stories. I'm a licensed mental health social worker. I work in mobile crisis where I respond to individuals who are suicidal, who are sad, among other things. I'm proud to be Hmong. We are a small and mighty ethnic group from Southeast Asia. We came to the United States due to genocide and helping the Americans fight in the Vietnam War. Identities are important because they represent us. I'm a son, I'm a brother, I'm an uncle, I'm an organizer, politically engaged, a true progressive, and a storyteller. My last identity, I have to say, is probably one of the ones I've struggled with the most, and at the same time, am so proud of. It's a duality of pride and criticism. And my last identity is that I am among men. And those who may know me may say that I'm not your typical Hmong man, but at the end of the day, what the hell is a typical Hmong man anyways? What I do know is that in this podcast, I do want to talk about the idea of toxic masculinity, and hopefully we can explore a term that I found out. It's called aspirational masculinity together. Let me tell you a bit more about the podcast structure, who will be on it, and the role of vulnerability. The guests will read their letter. I will be asking questions from their past, their present, their future, and wisdom sharing. The interviews will last 45 minutes or more. Season 1 will be Hmong only, and then the subsequent season will be open to all. Now, the podcast is a reflection of my lived experience. The podcast reflects my Hmong culture, our heritage, our historical tapestry, and our diaspora in America. Next, I'll be talking about the role of vulnerability in the Letters to My podcast. I believe we all need to talk about our vulnerabilities because it leads to healing. And I guarantee you, nothing good ever comes from keeping things in. Tell me the last time that worked. And that's why the courageous guest writes an old school letter and transforms it into the spoken word, which are so powerful. Again, truly grateful for you all listening and opening your ears to all the courageous conversation that you get to hear this season. I'm excited for it. I've already done the interviews, so I'm excited for you all to listen to it. Get ready for the guest to sa sol, which translates in our language to send message. Again, sa sol, to send message by the way of letters that speak and stories that heal. Here's our next guest. Enjoy vulnerable listening. Bye. Today, we have a very special guest, our first guest of Letters to My podcast, and she is one of my heroes and someone who has taught me so much about what a Hmong person can do. I want to introduce you all to Dr. Decha. Dr. Decha is a retired professor of anthropology and ethnic studies from St. Cloud State University. She is a former researcher with the Science Museum of Minnesota and the Denver Science Museum. Dr. Cha is currently the CEO of Be Better LLC, which provides a marketplace among women from remote villages in Laos, China, Thailand, and Vietnam to sell their handmade arts and crafts to the world. Dr. Cha holds a PhD in medical anthropology, an MA in applied anthropology, and a BA in cultural anthropology. Basically, she knows everything, y'all. So, Dr. Decha, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, my name is Dr. Decha. It's my pleasure to be here to share my thought, my experience, and my knowledge with you today.
Absolutely. Dr. Decha, the listeners may not know who you are, but I want to tell everyone who you are to me. I think I went to St. Cloud State University in Minnesota, central Minnesota, a very Mika area for us. When I say Mika, non-Hmong community, it was amazing to go to see a Hmong professor there. I was 18 at that time. So, Dr. Decha, this podcast is about uplifting the next generation. Really appreciate you for being present and taking all the students to Laos and Thailand, study abroad trips. And today I just want to talk with you regarding your past experience, your present realities, your future aspiration, and your wisdom sharing. Thanks again for joining us.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure to be here.
Dr. Decha, we would like, tell us who you dedicated this letter to and why.
I dedicate this letter to my nephew, Gong Ya, who is my younger sister's only son. My younger sister had cancer and she passed away very early at age 32. Gong at a very young age, so he doesn't have a mother to grow up with, and I always feel that if his mother was around, he would be a different person. And so I dedicate this letter to him to tell him how much his mother loved him and what the best for him.
Powerful. Thank you for telling us that and sharing that story. So as you're dedicating this letter to him, oftentimes vulnerabilities and sharing stories can be hard. Let's talk about your past experience. Are there, whether it's things you haven't told him or things you want him to learn or know about you, kind of like what made you who you are, Dr. Decha? What made you go to school? What made you come to America? What made you write books and so forth?
So, Ted, your mother and I came to this country as refugee, where we arrived this country without speaking any word in English. We had nothing. We lose everything. During the war, we grew up as a child during the war and became refugee in the refugee camp. We lived in the refugee camp for 4.5 years. We witnessed tremendous poverty, starvations, and hopelessness as refugee. A person without belonging, without country, without anything. And so we see the hardship as a young people, and when we arrive in this country, we don't take anything for granted. We have nothing, but we have each other. We have the love of our family, the support. And with that, we do what we can to study and to learn and to grow. It was extremely difficult to learn a new language. Every day we experience culture clashes. As we grow up in the Hmong society, it was typical for us as a young girl to back in Asia, in Thailand and Laos, to hold each other's hand and put hands on each other's shoulder, and that was normal for us. And when we got here, we start high school together, and we do that, and people were the normal students think we were crazy, and we had no idea what they were thinking, but they would laugh at us, they would treat us so strange, and so we start doing that. And so there every day we are bombarded with culture clashes and things that we had to learn and figure it out every day. And we were very hard because we wanted to be the best that we can be. And because we see our parents struggle so much to fight for freedom and liberty, so that we will have a life that they do not have. And so when we arrive in this country, we start our life, we really work hard to lead, to make ourselves the best life that we can, and also to lead our parents' dream of being happy, successful, and educated, and be able to live a life free of experience and freedom and opportunity. So that is what we strive for. And I hope that the young Hmong generation, whether my family, whether Tab or someone else, will not take things for granted, because you live in a land opportunity, a tremendous resource and opportunity that if you take it seriously, you can really lead the life of your dream.
And Dr. Decha, so let's talk about examples of when you saw in yourself, like, I'm going to take this opportunity in spite of everything against me when you were young or in college.
Yeah. In college, it was very, very hard because my generation, we were the first woman to Hmong to go to college, and to go to college, we don't have anyone who had gone to college before. And so we had no idea what is a major. I had no idea what to do. And every day is figuring things out. It's just like you walk in a path that's totally dark, and you have no idea what before you. What are you gonna meet? A snake, a tigers? Is there's some big rock on the road? You have no idea, or the hole you don't know until you get there, right? And so when you get there, then you just have to figure out how to go around, how to get yourself across that obstacle. You figure it out. So that's just how we face every day. And I look at all the challenges as opportunity for me to learn and to grow, instead of say, okay, this is too hard, I just give up. Because it's easy to give up, but
very easy.
We do not learn and we do not grow.
Yeah, that's powerful, Dr. Decha. This is a question that I like to ask people because I feel like through pain and suffering, there's growth. I love how you talked about that. So, Dr. Decha, my question to you is, what broke you? Was there anything that broke? What broke you? Like what emotionally broke you? What was so hard? What was an intense moment that was just like, that's my moment?
Well, I had so many moments. I think one of the moments when I was young in Laos as a little girl, my mother was illiterate. So every time my father was in the front line fighting as a soldier. So she wanted to send a letter to him or to some other relative, that she had to go ask someone to write a letter for her. And she does. So she won't go ask, and there are very few people who can write letter at that time. So they're busy, they don't have time. And sometimes
Can you tell us the year? What year? Just say the year.
No, my memory is in the late 1960 to early 1970. That's all I know. So she won't go ask a few times in order to get one letter right. There were times that they would just sit around, but they don't want it to write. So she had to go back and forth until she go ask a few people. And she will casually say that, if you don't study, you don't learn how to read and write, then when you're an adult, you're going to be like me. You're going to have to go and ask people to do things for you, and they cannot do things for you until they wanted to, until they have time. But if you could do it yourself, you don't have to wait for anyone. And so things like that really sink on me, that
yes.
I don't want it to be like her, because she didn't have the opportunity, but I do. So I wanted to be able to read and write, and I can write it for myself, and I don't have to ask other people. So that's one lesson I learned very young, is that it's the best you can do things for yourself is to ask someone else to do for you. So with that in mind, I always learn skill that I need to survive on my own as much as I can. It depends on other people only. Thing that I cannot do or that I have no control over.
Sorry, I have so many questions, but I have to stop. But that's powerful. That was really good, Dr. Decha. Thank you for that. Okay, this is about the first. Okay, sorry, I'm going to ask the question. Dr. Decha, it is my understanding that you may be one of the first Hmong women with a PhD. Can you talk a little bit more about that and talk about how you paved the way and talk about what that means to you and what that has meant to the next generation among women PhD, which who are awesome and has uplifted our community?
I happen to do a lot of things that people in my generation, especially girls in my generation, do not do. And because my mother always emphasized the important education, and though she was illiterate, she do what she can to help me, and she will never discourage me. She will always let me, especially to study and to learn. She always support me to that. I'm very grateful that she had that mentality that she see the important education. Well, I was the first Hmong woman to receive a bachelor degree in Colorado and a master degree and a PhD, and the first Hmong woman who was a professor, and the first Hmong woman professor in this country in a tenure track position in the university. And so a lot of the things there, I think Dr. Mai, her in California was probably the very first person who had a PhD, a woman. I was after her, and she was in the clinical psychology, I think, mental health area, and I in the anthropology area. And so we have, I think, at the time that we go to school, that we do what we did, just because no one woman had done what we did. And so we were have a lot of challenge because people can't see what a woman can do, right? What a Hmong woman can do in education.
Well, they can do amazing things.
Yeah,
Little
so
did they know.
Yeah, we don't know, they don't know, no one know. And so we can go and study, and they say, what are you going to do? You ask a girl, what are you going to do? A Hmong girl, what can you do with education? And so when I finished, and I was recruited before I finished my PhD program, like a year before. And so I did not accept the position until after I graduate, and then I start teaching. And so it's really demonstrate to a lot of the Hmong women and girls that, yeah, it's possible. We can become educated, and we can have a career. We can be wherever we want. So this is something that we did not know at that time that we could do. And so this really show a lot and inspire and motivate lots of young people to continue their education. And that is part of my community service, that I do what I can to motivate and to inspire young people to continue their education so that they have a better life and they have a good careers, and that they grow personally, and they can raise a more successful, healthy, and educated family. And so this is a benefit to everyone, to our, not just one community, but the society at large, that we become contributing citizens. We pay tax, we exercise our freedom, and live the life that we wanted, that our parents and our ancestors wanted for us.
Absolutely. No, Dr. Cha, I can really relate. Like, this is a message, one of the purpose of the podcast, which is to uplift not just Hmong men, uplift Hmong women, uplift everyone, our community. So thank you for that. This is a childhood question. I know you talked about education and you talked about your parents, but I want you to talk specifically like Dr. Decha, like my experience. So what part of your Dr. Decha's experience was instrumental in your childhood, whether it's education, coming to America, uplifting the next generation, and so forth?
Well, I think like back in the refugee camp, my father was lost as missing in action in 1972. And so he went to the battlefield and he just never came back. We don't know whether he was killed or captured or whatever happened.
So
So
sorry.
throughout my childhood, we always hear people say that he was still alive. He lived somewhere in the back, in the village somewhere, and that we can go and find him. And so we will investigate and take a lot of time, energy, and sometimes money to train, and then we discovered that it wasn't him. So that's just the story of our whole lives, is that even we got to this country back into the 2000s, we still hear story that he was still alive in Vietnam in somewhere. And so we always do that. When Laos became a communist country, and we were very fearful about alive. So my mother burned all the documents that he had, his picture, all his paperwork with his military service. And she had no idea how we're going to be captured any moment, right? So then we fled to Thailand. We had no evidence to prove that my father actually served on behalf of the American.
Oh,
So
no.
with that, that's why we had to wait 4.5 years in the camps until one of my father's friend, who eventually can escape from Laos, so he had a picture, black and white picture with my father. He can take it the front line, the battlefield. And so we got that, and so that's how we got that to prove that my father actually fought on behalf of the U.S. government, and that's how we got admitted to this country. But the escape we took to escape from our village to Vientiane, the capital city, it took a whole day bus ride. And so I think for many months, I don't know how many months, but every day we go back and forth, we walk, escape, pack our lunch and everything. And then we got to halfway, they will be stopped by the communist soldier who have a checkpoint. So we turned around back. And so until my mother spent all her money, she had no more money. And then the last day, the last trip, she said, no, I'm not going back. I'm just going to sleep in this village and I'm going to stay here. And so at that time, my three older siblings already left. And they left by themselves because they were older. And but the three of us were still young with my mother. So we just sleep in a Lao village and halfway until the next morning when there were very few people. Then they let us pass through. And so we got to Vientiane then. And this is one woman, they are so, they were illiterate. They only speak Hmong, they speak very few Lao word. She would somehow get us to the Catholic center in Vientiane where there's a priest and all the people reflect, but there's a priest and there if you take her at the center. So we got there, we were able to sleep there and get some free food. And so they would just tell us that there's rice over there and there's a pot and pan and you can go cook wherever you wanted to cook. And so that's how my mother does. And so, and if they just say if you're going to leave, you can take wherever you need, right? So she passed some rice and she passed a pot, cooking pot from there. And then we crossed the Mekong River. At night, she finds someone to help her. And at 2 a.m. in the morning, they come and take some taxi to come and take us from the mission center. And they took her to the river. And it's so like totally dark. And we just hold each other's hand and they put us in a boat. It's just like 10 minutes. We're on the other side. And so what happens is through all this time, from the village, we left my grandmother, who is my mother's mother, behind because she was very, very old and car sick. So she cannot make the escape with us. And so when we got to Thailand, I remember seeing my mother looking back at Laos and crying and saying goodbye to her mother and know that she will never see her again. So when we got to the camp, after my grandmother heard that we arrived silly in the camp, 2 weeks after we arrived in the camp, and my grandmother committed suicide in a home back in the village. And so when we got to the camp, we had nothing, no shelter. There was just an open field, and my mother had to go figure out how to build a shelter. And so she go spend the little money that she had to buy this from the village, Thai villager. It's sort of like make an arch, like you see the greenhouse this day, but they make a little arch and like she put bamboo over and then she bought some plastic sheet and she put it over, so just enough space for 4 people to sleep, she and her 3 kids. So at night we go sleep in there, and then during the day we just stay outside. When it rains, then she put a sheet of plastic under, and then we just have a blanket over, and you can feel the water on the bottom of the ship, but you cannot do anything. So that's also, I don't remember how many months we lived like that until we were transferred to another refugee camp, which is what a military training ground. So now the Hmong leaders said that my father and other Hmong soldiers were sent there to train during the war. And so we stayed for that, that camp called Nampong for I don't know how long, but we stayed there for at least a year. And then before they built Bambinai refugee camp. And then that's when we were transferred to Bambinai refugee camp that built for the Hmong refugee. And so maybe we would have lived in that camp until we came to this country. And so in the first camp, we had no school. The second camp, we had, I think, some other kid who arrived earlier able to go to school. And then Bam and I, we were able to go to school. And so I studied Thai for 2 years, and I learned math, and I learned to read and write in Hmong. So that's just how I learned that. And the camp was, at that time, the different camp had different regulation. The Lampong camp that we live in the military training ground, we cannot go outside. They were barbed wire around, so we cannot go outside. But the one in Bambinai, there were fence around, but people can still go out, even though it's dangerous time, because we had the Thai guard who often rape women, other people from outside. Anyone who go out are taking a lot of risk. So the camp in Thailand is for the adult people, it was really hard, but for kids like us at that time, we play a lot. We got to play with lots of other children, and I got to go to school, and I got to learn to do sewing and in my own house. So all those things that I do that no one tell me to do, but I just wanted to do. But because I was older,
well, you took the opportunity. That's the thing.
Yeah, I took the opportunity, so I learned to read and write in Thai. So that helped me when I got to this country. I have a little dictionary in Thai, in English. I often that helped me for my high school class, 'cause I can look at definition in Thai and help me to understand a little bit. But all these are things that I do that a lot of people don't do, because I take the opportunity to learn and to improve myself and prepare myself. And when we got to this country, it was extremely hard, difficult to figure everything out. But I figured out, I was young, and if I don't study then I would not have a chance to grow and to study. So I keep studying as much as I can. So I hope that answers your question.
Very good. Very good. Thank you so much. Okay. So in your life, in your past experiences, did you have any regret? Did you have any should haves, could haves? Why didn't I? I wish I would have.
I don't have any regret. I always do my best, and I live in the present moment so that I can fully enjoy and do my best. Then I don't have regret, because I really do all I can at that moment that I live. And this is another thing that people face all the time, because you waste so much time worrying about things that could happen, may happen, if, and all those things which 99% of the time do not happen, that we worry about.
And then all of a sudden you do nothing. Nothing happens.
And then you don't enjoy the present moment that you live at that moment too, because you spend all your time and energy to worry about something that never happened, instead of concentrate on what you could make a difference, that you can really enjoy, and that you are doing your best, and that you really live. Because the present time is what matters the most. Because yesterday is gone, tomorrow haven't come. Now is all we have. If we treasure every moment we live and we do the best we can in that moment, then that is what life is all about.
Yeah, Dr. Decha, that's so true. I'm a therapist too, and present moment thinking is something that we utilize when people are anxious, depressed, or just overthinking and racing. Present moment just helps you stay present and also focus on a task at hand. So I'm happy that you talked about that. Dr. Decha, the next question that I want to ask you, what did you learn about yourself from all of your past experience? How did these experiences make you learn about yourself that helps you in your present reality? Did this experience influence you to your current path?
I think that my what I had learned a long time ago in the past is that adversity build character. Some people, when they have something bad come to life, they suffer and they stop them to grow, they cannot move on. But for me, I had tremendous challenge in life, but I figured things out. I feel like this is gonna make me a better person, because if I go through this, if I survive this, I can make the best of this. Instead of worrying about thinking about why this happened to me, I say, well, there must be a reason why it happened to me, so that I will figure things out. I will become a better person, stronger person. I will have more experience. I will learn and grow from here. And so that is what really helped me, that because with this kind of mentality, it seems like nothing will stop me. This has helped me to overcome tremendous challenge and hardship that I have in my life. And so what I have living now is because of that mentality and because of all the experience that I have lived through. It helped made me the person who I am today.
Thank you. So we're transitioning to the present reality. So thank you for talking about your past experience. It really helps us to understand where you came from. And Dr. Decha, I did not know that about your father. I did not know that about your mother. And I'm so sorry to hear. My condolences. But we'll come back to it. Thank you. So tell us about your current passions. What is Dr. Decha working on?
Well, I do things like this. I talk to people about Hmong history, Hmong culture, Hmong experience, my experience, things that will help other people, motivate other people. And I'm very honored and privileged to be able to sit on a dissertation committee that I can review what the new scholars are researching on, because I feel at any university now, so I serve mostly as external faculty. So people, young, especially Hmong graduates, students who work on their PhD, will ask me to sit on their committee. Yes, I feel very privileged that I had that opportunity, that I can read their research. I can give an insight with all the knowledge and experience that I have, especially about Hmong, when they do their research about the Hmong. And so I can contribute in that way.
Why is it your passion to uplift the next generation?
To me, it's an honor to do this and to have this privilege. I don't think a lot of people have. And you have to acquire enough credential and experience and knowledge to have that ability to call to do this service, especially be able to sign your name on that and prove that you can award a PhD or a degree to this person. I think this is an honor and privilege that we have. And so I'm grateful for all these things that I'm able to do, that I can do, that I had the opportunity to serve and to contribute. And I can tell when they do their research, if they got something not quite correct, then I help to make that correction so that we correct our history along the way. Because a lot of the literature that written about all people have been very negative. So this is the area that as a scholar I'm able to do, is to make correction in our history, and especially from Hmong perspective.
Right. And that to me is just like I'm an advocate, and I love public policy, and I love changing stories and challenging narratives. So thank you for doing that, because these are things that behind closed doors, Dr. Decha, that we don't know about. So thank you for sharing it. It's very important.
Yeah, so I feel privileged and I feel honored to do, and it's a lot of work. And lots of these I do mostly volunteer work.
Bless your heart.
But either this new book that's going to come out with misconception, or because the new scholars do not know, because they're born and raised in this country, they may not know, they may write something that may go into the record that may not fully accurately represent us. And so I feel obligated and also appreciate that I had the chance to make a difference in this way. So in other ways, when people write book about Hmong, this is another thing that I had to do too, because they will ask me to review before they publish the manuscript. And this takes a lot of time too, that I had to go through their new manuscript and review to make sure what they say is accurately represent our culture, our history, and our life. And so these are the things that I do today that I was not able to do as a young person, because I did not have enough wisdom and knowledge and experience at that time. But now I do.
Well, I call it apprenticeship. You build up your stages of apprenticeship, and once you get to a certain point, you become the teacher, you become the master. And it's also withholding our history too. And Letters to My pushes letter writing, because letter has been used, or writing or documenting our experiences is very important. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Dr. Decha, we're going to transition. Dr. Decha, your experiences with grief. No, so your experience with complicated grief, loss, and unknown, those really stuck out to me. And I'm wondering if you feel comfortable to talk a little bit more about your experiences with that in the context of teaching the next generation what it means to handle that, to deal with it, and so forth.
Again, see, when people do not have enough knowledge, broad knowledge, they will go through this, especially when we lost someone, loved one, family member, or we go through some challenge in life, then we get people just cry and feel bad, feel miserable. But for me, with the knowledge that I have when in my younger age, I just like anyone else. I suffer, I cry, and I'm miserable. Since I become more educated, and that I understand the whole picture of life, death is inevitable, that we all have to go through, that we all have to face. And so when I live life, I try to enjoy as much as possible with someone, the people that I love. I love them as much as I can. And so when they're no longer here, I do not regret. I feel that I had done what I can and treasure the moment I have with them already. And that life just doesn't go on. And so this is how I deal with grief. This is how I deal with sadness. Yeah, I feel sad, but I know that only the physical body that die, not the soul, the spirit that live on. So I don't want people die in your reality, in my reality, but they don't not die in their own reality. They continue to live on. So I don't want to feel bad or suffer for someone who continue to live on. So this is how I look at it. And so with this kind of understanding, I feel bad and miss them, but I know that they just transition to another dimension of life. That is their time to move on. But this is how I deal with loss and death.
I'm taking it in because I've never ever heard it said this way before. So I thank you. I'm gonna hold on to this. I think this would be very powerful with the healing component and the acceptance. And so it's really the concept of the mind, how you see it. So I love that. I think that's good.
Yeah. And then the other thing is that as an anthropology, I understand how culture come to play in helping human to go through sorrow, mourning, sadness. We have mechanisms to handle, to deal with this, and lots of people do not have what we call good mourning. This is why we have this long funeral day, because that gives the time for everyone to come and grieve together, to share the loss, and to express ourselves. We heal as a group, not individual. And so when we lost someone, the whole community come together to support each other and the whole family in this way. That sense of loss is less tense because we had each other in this very depressing moment in our lives.
Dr. Decha, I want to ask you a question about healing, because group mourning is part of healing. So I want you to focus healing on yourself, how you healed, and then talk about like the cultural healing.
How do I heal in terms of myself?
How have you healed? Yes, about yourself, correct.
Again, because I focus on the present moment. And I think, for example, I lost my mom when she passed away. I miss her tremendously, but I also always remind myself of her love for me, that whether she's here or not, she will always love me. Knowing that she will always love me, that she's always with me. She's not here physically, but she's here spiritually. And so because of my understanding of all these cosmology, I know that I can pray for her, I can ask for her presence at any moment. So that way I don't I don't feel like she's gone forever. So this is how I deal with loss, and how I heal myself is that knowing that, human being, we have the physical body and we have the spiritual. And if we understand how the two are connected, then we really feel much whole. And we don't really feel lost or disconnected. And so it's hard for me to explain, but I don't dwell in the past. I forget the past very easily. And I focus on my time's energy on what I need to do now and in the future. And so instead of feeling bad about that, I don't have time to do that much. I only do what I need to do now and then what I need to prepare for tomorrow and the future.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I'm not, so I hope that
No,
answers
no, don't worry about that. Just flow. Just keep flowing.
Okay. Yeah.
What excites you most about your current journey?
Well, for me, because I love to study, to read, and to learn, so I continue to learn. Even though I have a PhD, even though I read lots of books and have studied a lot, I still study. So I am excited every day, every year that I get to learn something new, that I learn more about myself. I discover things that I do not know about myself, do not know about the world. And so these are fascinating to me.
It is. It is. Yeah, I'm right there with you, Dr. Decha. Like from Charles Darwin to all the inventors to us having computer chips, human society, we have always innovated, which I love. And then on top of that, that means, and it was created from this state between our ears. And it took me a while too, Dr. Decha, because I didn't care about school. I didn't like school, but I realized that reading, the power of reading, writing, and so forth, has made me A, it's made me money. I'll tell you that. B, it's made me be able to be more self-reflective, and C, the growth mindset. So I love that.
Yes.
Dr. Decha, we're going to transition very close to future aspirations. But before we do, what advice would you give to someone who wished to start on a similar path as our Dr. Decha?
Take time to figure out what's your purpose in life. What is it that you're good at? What is it that you want to make a difference in other people's life? What is it that unique about you, special about you? What are your talents? And you have to know who you are before you know where you're going. And we have to have goals. We have to have purpose. The people who are lonely, who are depressed, who cannot get things done because they don't have a sense of purpose. If you don't have a goal, it's just like you put a boat or a ship in the ocean and you don't have the captain to drive it. If you should put a ship in the ocean, it's going to be blown by the wind every direction and eventually can be destroyed. And you have to have a captain to drive the ship to have a roadmap where you're going. Because you don't know where you're going, you cannot get to where you want it to be. The young person who want to start a career in life, this is what we have to figure it out. What is it that you're good at? What is that you want in life? What is your goal, your purpose, your mission? Where you're going, you have to know who you are. And if you don't know who you are, you don't know where you're going. But if you have a purpose, your purpose can drive you to as high as you wanted to go, as far as you wanted to go. Nothing going to stop you when you have a mission, a goal, a purpose. And every day is a bright new day. Give you opportunity to exercise, to follow the steps you need to fulfill your mission. That's what life is. Life, to me, life is for us to experience the best thing that we can in our life. To not just get along, but to be the best person that we can be. To utilize everything we have that we can say God given us. We were born a human being. You and I have the same tool, the same mind. We all can think, can see, hear, and, see, and we can do that, but some people use their mind, their imagination only small percentage. They don't utilize 100% of it.
Mm-hmm.
And for reading and writing is what will be able to create with our minds, with our imagination. If we don't study, we don't read, we don't write, then we don't utilize that part of our being, our power, our energy that God gave it to us. We are born in, everyone born with, but not everyone use it, fully use it.
Dr. Decha, we are transitioning to the wisdom sharing to the individual who you dedicated the letter to, your nephew Gong. So in the concept of your past experience, your future, in the concept of your past experience, your present reality, and your future aspiration, can you share like a few knowledge or wisdom that you want to pass to Gong, that you want to impart, you want him to know and learn?
So I wanted to anyone who listens to this to know that life, everything in life, there are two sides, at least two sides. There's so many versions in life, but there's the positive and the negative. And if we think, the way we think, the way we feel, the way we say, work, the way we look at things, if we look at from a positive view, then our life going to reflect on that. If we focus on the negative, then our life is going to reflect on that. And so we know that when we focus on positive, our life expands. When we focus on negative, our life contract. That means it shrinks. And so if we constantly think about the good thing, what you can do, what you can be the best, then that's what your life going to reflect on that. But if you focus on the thing you cannot be, you cannot do, the thing that scare you, the thing that fear you, then your life going to be like that. This is one thing that I haven't talked much. When I was 21 years old, I have an accident that I was hospitalized for 1 month. I was in a coma for 3 weeks. Most people think I would die. And from that experience, at first I asked why me. And then most people think that because of that, I was badly burned and I was handicapped. And so that's the end of me. This is what people tell me. But then I was only 21. I was just starting college, first semester college. And so I had to do a lot of thinking at that time. I said, well, I just hospitalized for a month. I had to go home and I couldn't even feed myself. My mother had to take care of me and feed me. Otherwise, everything, I would just start life over just like a baby. Totally cannot do anything for myself. So my choice is that I can continue to be SSI for the rest of my life and lead a life where majority people tell me I'm going to have to live, or overcome this tragedy and be a person that lead her dream. Then my dream was at that time to be as obtain my education, go as far as I can, reach as high as possible. And that I was just starting my first semester in college. And so I had no idea how I going to overcome through all this. So for 2 years, I had to go through physical therapy and go to the hospital every week for 2 years. Would be for rehabilitation. After that, then I had to go back to school, to college, and I had to wear a mask that covered my whole face, only my nose and my eyes and my mouth. Every day I had to ride the bus, public bus, because I can't drive. Everyone think I'm going to rob the bank.
Mm-hmm.
That is not Halloween. Why don't I take my mask off? And so I go to the university, right? And this is what I face every day. So if I were to think positive or negative, I only look at all the things that I have to go through, that I have to face, and I'm not gonna make it, because it's pretty bad as a young person, right? And so, but I make up my mind that I know who I am, that I know that I have a good mind, that I figure out very from the refugee camp that I start school there, that I'm very smart. Because at the camp, even though I just start school there, I always had the number one in those days. They rank you, right? Whoever at the high
Right.
school, you can rank number one. So I always get the highest score. So I know that I'm very smart. And so, but people don't know that. They only see the scar on my face, the tragedy that I just went through, that how terrible I look, and that a person like me gonna become nothing. That's all they see. But I don't see that. I see those are tremendous hardship that I have to deal with society. But I know who I am. I'm able to, so I continue my education in college after the accident. And I won't go to college, and then I will have infections, and I had to be hospitalized. And I mean, I had to cancel my class. Yeah, so all these things take tremendous effort to earn my bachelor degree, and that's why it take a long time for me to earn my bachelor degree.
Decha, what message do you want to pass to Gong about these experiences?
I mean, so life is filled with challenge, and no matter how challenging it is, if you know who you are, you're capable of, you can overcome. You can overcome any challenge, and don't give up until you succeed. If you keep going, you're gonna get someplace. But if you stop, you're not gonna get anywhere. Not gonna go anywhere. So that is what I mean by positive and negative. I can look at this tragedy and feel so bad and suffer and just end it there and don't go anything, don't do anything with myself and be on social security SSI for the rest of my life. That's my option. Or I can say, I'm young. I have a life, a future, and I'm very small. I will be able to do something. I may not be able to do something physically, but I can do a lot with my mind.
That's right.
And that's also I rely on. So to think, always think of what you can do is that what you cannot do. Yeah. So I know you can do a lot because you're very intelligent, very capable. You just have to have a mindset to believe in yourself. And you have to drive to be someone, to have a purpose. And that you go, whatever it is that you want, that's what you need to pursue. And focus on that and think positively, no matter what people say, no matter what people tell you. If you know who you are, you know what you want, you continue that, you will get what you want.
Dr. Decha, I just want to wrap up a little bit about what we talked about today. Thank you for sharing us about your past experience with the refugee camps. I think that is part of our Hmong diaspora of where we came from, because I'm big with you too. I learned in order to know where you're going, it's important to know where you came from. So thank you for being a thought leader for the Hmong community. And learning about your PhD experience, it was inspiring. I really appreciate your take on grief and loss. That was something really new to me, and I have to reflect on it myself because I learned something new too. And then learning about your work on the dissertation, and so I think that's very empowering. That even after your time educating hundreds of students from Hmong to non-Hmong, you're still doing this work. So we really appreciate that. Is there any last message or any last thoughts regarding your past experience, your past experience, your present realities, future aspirations, and wisdom that you feel that you still want to talk to the listeners about?
I like to study and learn and continue to grow. And I think that's also the purpose of life, of being born into this world, is to continue to learn and grow and to continue to use our minds and our imagination to help us to create the life that we wanted. And I learned a long time ago that we cannot give what we don't have. If we wanted to love someone, if we do not love ourselves, we cannot love someone. We have to have what we cannot give what we have. So If I want to give you money, if I don't have money, I cannot give you. I wanted to love you. If I don't know how to love myself, I don't know how to love you. And it's the same thing. So I want God and everyone to know that, first you love yourself, then you will be able to love anyone in life. And you have to have in order to give.
Dr. Decha, thank you for being part of the conversation.
Thank you for joining us on Letters to My Podcast Inaugural Season 1. We hope you can hear the power of storytelling, vulnerability, and self-expression rooted in the Hmong tradition. Let's continue to bridge the digital divide. I am Sai's niece. My name is Emma, and he is my uncle. He has helped me become more confident and made me come out of my comfort zone. I remember one day he took us nieces out to Dairy Queen. We decided to race back to the car, but my sister ran too fast and slipped under the car. It was memorable because it was funny, and those moments are something I would cherish forever. Letters to My Podcast is where vulnerability meets self-discovery. Self-discovery meets writing. Journaling, writing letters, or handwriting isn't just about writing what is on your mind or reliving your experiences. It is a medium for self-expression and self-reflection. Take a pause and time to think. For Sai, it began with journaling in college, a practice that became a lifeline. He poured his fears, tears, failures, successes, self-doubt, and inspiring quotes on index cards. At one point, he had over 300 index cards in a shoebox. Writing helped him discover a powerful path to self-awareness, increasing his mental well-being and assisting in processing his emotions. As a social worker, a pen and paper were his constant companion, helping him process interactions and to not miss anything important. Sai has benefited from the power of writing and wants to revitalize this practice and share it with you all. A little bit more about my uncle who is the host. Sai, he, him, his, is a first-generation Hmong American man, social worker, and community organizer with over 12 years of experience. Sai is diagnosed with ADHD. He is passionate about building community through storytelling, self-expression, and the importance of affinity with their human counterpart. Sai believes each generation builds upon the next and seeks to uplift the next generation. One quote that embodies Letters to My Podcast. Our children are the greatest hope we have. The future belongs to them. Nelson Mandela, South African revolutionary. Letters to My Podcast focuses on passing wisdom and uplifting the next generation. It is our turn to pass the torch of wisdom and leave the world a better place than we found it. Letters impart our hopes, dreams, and future to the next generation. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and give a 5-star rating to help with the algorithm. Letters to My Podcast is on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Blue Sky, and Instagram. Disclaimer. Sai Ying, LMSW, is not establishing a therapist-client relationship with listeners through this podcast, and any reliance on the content is at your own risk. The views expressed in this podcast are Sai Ying's personal opinions and do not necessarily reflect the views of their employer or licensing board. For any mental health concerns or questions, please seek guidance from a licensed mental health professional or call text the National Suicide Hotline 988. Thanks for listening to Letters That Speak, Stories That Heal. Sai's niece Emma, outro done. Oh, ciao.